Good evening and welcome to Gravitas. I'm Palki Sharma. Let's get started. For days, we've been telling you about the challenges that the global economy faces. Inflation is going up everywhere in the world. Central banks are intervening. Markets are bleeding. Now, a new report says the U.S. stock market has lost $7 trillion in this year so far. $7 trillion in less than 5 months. Every day, a new report makes starker claims and darker predictions. There's talk of a looming recession. And the war in Ukraine and the lockdowns in China are making things worse everywhere. Now, a new report says India may be the bright spot, the fastest growing large economy in the world, even though India will not emerge unscathed from this crisis. On Gravitas tonight, we'll join the dots to look at what the big picture may look like and what and how it will impact your life. It's Friday the 13th, and I'm afraid I come bearing some bad news. The world economy is speeding towards a cliff edge. Stocks are down, inflation is up, and investors are moody. Nobody is asking it out loud, but everyone is wondering the same thing. Are we heading into a recession? We start with what's happening in the US. Stock markets are bleeding. The bears are having a raging party on Wall Street. The damages? Almost $7 trillion. $7 trillion. Take a look at the data. It shows how U.S. indices have fared in the last 6 months. NASDAQ is down 28%, Dow Jones down 12%, Standard & Poor's is down 16%. Put together, major U.S. stocks have lost $7 trillion, $7 trillion since the start of 2022. When markets fall 20%, you say it has reached bare levels. Right now, it is dangerously close to that. Let's focus on the NASDAQ. In the last 30 trading days, NASDAQ has dropped more than 20%. Has this happened before? It's happened 11 times. 9 of those were linked to recessions. This time, tech is the big loser. Some more data for you. Apple has fallen 16% in the last month. Meta is down 11%. Tesla down 28%. Amazon down 31%. Now, these are the biggest companies on earth. They basically run our lives. Cars, phones, social media, groceries, everything. They handle all of it. And these companies are losing out big time. Almost $3 trillion. That's how much tech companies have lost. You can see this trend all over the world. India's Sensex dropped 11% in the last 6 months. Chinese markets are down 12%. Japan's Nikkei has dropped 11%. So the engine rooms are not doing well. A couple of reasons for that. Number one, the inflation. To cut down prices, central banks have gotten involved. Across the world, interest rates are rising. The result is this sluggish economic growth. Reason number two, the lockdown in China. Asian markets are struggling because of this. Exports are down, tourism is down. So China is dragging the Asian economy along with it. And what China is doing to Asia, the US is doing to the world. If the US economy enters recession, the world enters recession. It happened in the 1930s. It happened in 2008. The question is, will it happen in 2022? Technically, America is halfway there. In the first quarter of 2022, their GDP shrank 1.4%. 2 quarters of falling GDP means recession. So this quarter is crucial. If the numbers are bad, we could be in trouble. And a lot depends on the US Federal Reserve. Their number one priority right now is to tame inflation. So the Fed is planning on more interest hikes. And this could mean two things. A, consumer spending falls drastically. In other words, a one-way ticket to recession. Or B, consumers have enough savings to sustain their spending. In that case, we could see a softer landing. Sort of like a delicate balance between inflation and growth. Can the US achieve that? The inflation data from April does not give away very much. It was 8.3%, lower than March, but too high for comfort. So all eyes are on the Federal Reserve. They're planning more interest rate hikes in the future. The question is, how big will those hikes be? The market can deal with 50 basis points, but anything higher than that could be in trouble. So far, the Fed chair has ruled out aggressive hikes. He's promising to stick with 50 basis points. The problem is, some things are beyond his control, like the war in Ukraine or China's lockdown. These are volatile variables that no central bank can factor. Yet they directly affect the economy. Take gas, for instance. In the US, gas prices are hitting record highs. 1 gallon is going at $4.4. Now, to put that in perspective, gasoline last hit $4 in 2008. And when gas prices rise, everything becomes expensive. You can hike interest rates, you can cut down spending, it doesn't matter. Inflation will still remain high. What does all of this mean for India? Broadly speaking, not good news. Having said that, India could emerge as a relative bright spot. According to The Economist, India will be the fastest growing economy this year. The government is projecting 8% GDP growth, so there could be an opportunity here for India, perhaps to attract more investors or build new supply chains. The only party pooper here is inflation. India's retail inflation topped 7.79% in April. That's an 8-year high. At this rate, the Reserve Bank may have to intervene again, maybe keep hiking interest rates. And if that happens, economic growth will suffer. India's finance secretary did talk about this. He admitted that higher interests could slow growth. So this decade continues to challenge our leaders. 2021 challenged their medical strategy. 2022 will challenge their economic strategy. And every leader will respond differently. Take British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. His plan is to shrink the government. How would that work? Through mass layoffs. Boris Johnson wants to cut 90,000 civil service jobs. He's given his ministers 1 month. By then, they must come up with a plan. If successful, Britain's civil service will be slashed by a fifth. How does that help the government? Like it would help any employer. If you have less workers, you spend less on wages. That's what the British government is doing, firing people to save money. And how much money are they saving? Around $4.3 billion. That's how much Britain could save by trimming the civil service. And this money could fund Boris Johnson's tax cuts. You see, Britain too is suffering with inflation. The Bank of England is projecting a 10% by the end of 2022. 10% inflation. Their target was just 2%. So safe to say, inflation is spiraling out of control. Boris Johnson's response was to try and cut taxes. He wanted to give households more cash in hand. Just one problem, the Treasury did not agree. So Boris Johnson has found a plan to balance the books. Cut down the civil service, save $4 billion, then use that money to fund his tax cuts. The Treasury is yet to comment on this plan. Rumour is Rishi Sunak is not in favour of cutting taxes now. He wants them later on, possibly by 2024. And this rift was played up by the British media. Some reports also hinted at a possible cabinet reshuffle. Either way, Britain needs to act fast. In the first quarter of 2022, they outperformed both the US and the Eurozone. Their GDP grew by 0.8%, but the latest data is not encouraging. In the month of March, Britain's economy shrank by 0.1%. Car sales, services output, everything was down. So the situation across the West is the same. In the US, in the Eurozone, in the UK, every government is struggling to find the sweet spot between inflation and growth. Could Boris Johnson's tax cuts do the trick? Well, on paper, they do make sense, but two questions still remain. Number one, how will the civil servants react? In Britain, they're a very powerful group. In fact, they're employees of the Crown, not the Parliament. So cutting 90,000 jobs will trigger a standoff. The powerful unions on one side and the British government on the other. Question number two, who gets the tax cuts? If the struggling households get some relief, then great. If not, it will be another pointless effort. And that's what some lawmakers are worried about. Because after all, this is a conservative government. Traditionally, their cuts benefit the rich. In fact, Boris Johnson had proposed one such tax cut for 2024. That proposal was poised to benefit the top half of earners. Is this proposal the same, or has Boris Johnson changed his plan? The end result will depend on which way the Prime Minister goes. Right now, Johnson is not giving away very much. He's promising to do, quote-unquote, things. But he's not explained what are those things.
We will do things to help people in the short term, of course, and I'm not going to anticipate anything more that we may do. But the crucial thing is to make sure that we have the strong employment situation, because that is the key thing.
Well, this could be a defining moment in Boris Johnson's career. He's facing the heat for Partygate. He's lost the local elections to Labour. His economy is in bad shape. What Johnson does now could decide his future. If he can balance inflation and growth, he may survive. If not, he could face a revolt. So Boris Johnson may face a revolt, but in Argentina, a revolt is already underway. Thousands have taken to the streets of the capital. They're protesting against the country's soaring inflation. In fact, inflation may be a global problem right now, but in Argentina, it's part of everyday life, and it has been like that for years now. In 2021, the inflation rate was more than 50%. This year, it could cross 60%. What does this mean for Latin America's third largest economy? Our next report has all the details.
Welcome to Argentina, the land of football, tango, and uncontrollable inflation. Inflation here is a part of daily life. In the 80s, it went over 3,000%. Now the figure is slowly creeping up again. In the 1990s, Argentina incentivized foreign investment, it loosened trade barriers, and inflation was held under control. But there was just one problem: corruption. By the 2000s, corruption was rampant. It led to foreign investors fleeing the country. Even before the pandemic, Argentina's economy was struggling. After COVID-19 struck, things became far worse. Inflation was rising again. There were high unemployment levels and public finances were stretched to a breaking point. In the first 4 months of 2022, prices rose 23%. This includes a 6% jump in April. Things got so bad that people took to the streets. It is called Federal March for Work and Salaries.
More than 300,000 people are going to be in Plaza de Mayo at the local square to demand from the national government that there will be no more hunger, no more misery. We want genuine work, a living wage equal to the basic food basket. We clearly say no to the International Monetary Fund and no to the foreign debt payment.
40% of Argentines already live in poverty. The rest are struggling with the rising prices. Their demands are simple. They want jobs, they want security, and a living wage that can afford basic necessities.
Today, a typical family made up of 5 people must spend around 80,000 pesos to survive. We see that Argentines do not earn 80,000 pesos. They earn much less. So we are at a time in which the population is living below the poverty line, and many residents in Buenos Aires and the rest of the provinces are poor. This national march is to speak out on this.
The government has already sealed a deal with the IMF. This is to reschedule some $44 billion in debt. But the protesters have denounced this agreement. They want the money to be spent on Argentina's poorest. Their chant reflects this emotion. They say the debt is to the people. Inflation is raging everywhere in the world, but in Latin America it is the worst. This year, Argentina's inflation could soar over 60%, so things could get worse in the coming days.
In Sri Lanka, the situation is no better. The country may have a new prime minister, but there's no end to the political turmoil. People are still protesting, they're still demanding the president's resignation, and he's still refusing to go. Gotabaya Rajapaksa has given some concessions. He's also agreed to cede some powers, but not the presidential post. That's not part of the deal. He says he will not step down because if he does, Sri Lanka will slip further into anarchy. So what's his plan? Let the new government clear the mess and restore stability. And once that's done, he says he'll be willing to discuss the future, his future, with Lankan lawmakers. This is what he said in a televised address. and I'm quoting, "I will give the opportunity for the new government and new Prime Minister to start a new program to take the country forward. After stability is restored, I will discuss curbing my executive powers with all political parties." In other words, he has put the onus on Ranil Wickremesinghe, the onus to clear the mess that the Rajapaksas created. Will Wickremesinghe play ball? Is he ready to risk the public's wrath? Well, he started with the discordant note. Here's what he said immediately after he was named the Prime Minister. The Gota Go Gama protest should continue as it is. Exact words spoken. He says he will not go after the protesters and neither will he let the police interfere with their movement. How should one view this? What message is Ranil Wickremesinghe trying to send here? He's buying time, perhaps. He has a lot on his plate, fixing the economy, getting the currency in order, bringing down inflation, giving people jobs. Now, this man is a veteran politician. He's been Prime Minister 5 times. He knows too well that he'll have to give the people something, some concrete assurance, before he asks them to go back home. The Prime Minister's immediate challenge is the Lankan lawmakers. They don't want him. They're protesting the appointment. They say he's going to be the savior of the Rajapaksas and that he's been given the power to protect the family, not the people. Listen to this.
Ranil Wickremesinghe is always a savior of the Rajapaksas. He always takes power for their protection. In the same way, the Rajapaksas are protectors of Ranil Wickremesinghe. This is what we have seen in the last 2.5 years.
Religious leaders have also slammed Wickremesinghe's appointment. This includes both Buddhist monks and Catholic priests. Now, you must know here, 74% of Sri Lanka's population is Buddhist. The Buddhist clergy wields considerable influence in this country. They're both the means and the motive to influence public opinion. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen them attend numerous anti-government demonstrations. They're calling Wickremesinghe's appointment illegal, a serious mistake which might make the situation worse. They also want Gotabaya to step down. Listen to this.
This is completely illegal. This is completely ignoring the peaceful people's struggle. The president is making a serious mistake. We kindly ask him to work in accordance with the people's wishes. With this appointment, the people's struggle can turn to a worse situation. The people are not ready to accept this appointment.
This is not the change the people of this country want. This is seriously going against the wishes of the people. We want to say publicly that the president appointing a person rejected by the people and not an independent person, and those lawmakers who support it, will all be rejected by the people.
So the people want him out, the opposition wants him out, even religious leaders want him out. Gotabaya Rajapaksa is on thin ice and his concessions are not helping his case very much. They say practice makes perfect. It's true for the smaller things in life, like playing a musical instrument or learning a new language. But what about fighting wars? Does practice make you perfect at war? Well, China certainly thinks so. Satellite images have revealed their so-called practice ranges. Take a look at this one. It is located deep in a desert in Xinjiang. Now, the layout is interesting. It resembles a naval base with a warship. Not a Chinese naval base, a Taiwanese naval base. Experts have identified the similarities. China's practice range resembles a base in northeast Taiwan. If war breaks out, this base would be crucial. So what does China do? Practice missile strikes on replicas. Now, when I say replicas, they are pretty spot on. The pier, the warships, everything is built to specification. Reports say this was made in December. Once completed, China's PLA blew it up with a missile strike, sort of like a dress rehearsal before the real deal. And it's not just Taiwan. Replicas have been spotted of US bases in Japan and Guam. So China is readying for a wider war. The question is, will they put their practice into motion? They certainly have the tools. China is known to have developed 2 hypersonic missiles. One is called the Carrier Killer. The other is called the Guam Killer. Well, you can imagine why. The second missile has a range of 5,000 kilometers. In other words, enough to hit the US military base in Guam. If this is not warmongering, what is? China is replicating Taiwanese bases in their deserts. The pier, the ships, the defenses, everything. And these replicas are being blown to smithereens by the PLA. How is this not escalation? It clearly means China is thinking about war. I've got more evidence for you. Take a look at this satellite picture. What you're looking at is a Chinese shipyard. That blue object is an attack submarine, possibly a nuclear-powered one. Intelligence reports had repeatedly warned of this, that China is developing a new class of submarines. And this could be it. More range, more reliable, and more protection for Chinese warships. Clearly, the dragon is eyeing the high seas. How is the Alliance of Democracies planning to respond? Well, right now, an important meeting is happening in Washington, D.C., the US-ASEAN Summit. The ASEAN is a group of 10 nations in Southeast Asia. They're a big trading bloc. They're economic powerhouses, and most importantly, they have differences with China. So Joe Biden is looking to exploit those differences. The summit kicked off with a dinner at the White House. 8 ASEAN heads of state were in attendance. Myanmar was excluded because of the military coup, and the Philippines because the new president is yet to take charge. The big headline on Thursday was this: Biden announced a $150 million package for ASEAN. It's a good start. But as always, America is late. In November 2021, China too announced a package for ASEAN. Guess how much? $1.5 billion. And that's the biggest challenge for the US, because ASEAN states are no fans of China. Most of them have territorial disputes with Beijing. At the same time, they have no choice but to engage. China is ASEAN's biggest trading partner. Their total trade is worth around $274 billion. Europe is second, America is third. And Beijing knows about this dependence. Take a look at this Global Times article. Here's what it says. The industry and supply chains between China and ASEAN are closely connected thanks to institutional arrangements like the China-ASEAN Free Trade Area. The US lacks a global program equivalent to the Open and Inclusive Belt and Road Initiative. Ignore the joke about the inclusive BRI. Other than that, China does have a point. ASEAN's economy is too dependent on China's, plus there is little military deterrence. Western warships make occasional voyages through the South China Sea. But that's not stopping China. Their warships continue to challenge ASEAN states. So Joe Biden needs a two-part plan. One must focus on alternatives to Belt and Road, to Chinese supply chains, to Chinese loans, basically wean Southeast Asia off Chinese dependence. The other focus must be on defense. ASEAN states should be capable of defending against the PLA. That's where partners like India come in. The Philippines, for example, they bought the BrahMos missile from India. Reports say Vietnam is also interested. So America must take on a different role in the Indo-Pacific, not like the one they played in Europe. Unquestioned leadership will not work here. The US must work as an equal partner. Let's talk about China's neighbor now, North Korea, the hermit kingdom. The virus from China has finally breached its borders. For the first time in almost 2 years, more than 2 years of the pandemic, North Korea has confirmed a COVID outbreak. But it's still calling the virus a fever, one whose cause cannot be ascertained. What North Korea has confirmed is that 350,000 people have been infected, 350,000. And more than 187,000 people have been isolated. 6 people have died. A national lockdown has finally been imposed. Kim Jong-un has started wearing a mask. He's holding meetings and visiting virus centers. The problem is he doesn't have vaccines to protect his people. The world offered them several times. North Korea rejected each time. So how is it going to fight the Wuhan virus? Our next report explores.
These images are from Thursday. They show Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un meeting government officials in Pyongyang. Do you notice something peculiar here? Let us help you. They show Kim Jong-un wearing a surgical mask for the first time. Almost 3 years of the pandemic, and he has never donned a mask. Why now? Because North Korea has just reported a COVID outbreak. But the Korean state media prefers calling it a fever. According to the official Korean news agency, a mysterious fever is spreading in the Hermit Kingdom. Its cause is yet to be ascertained, but the fever has been spreading explosively since late April. It says 6 people have died, 350,000 are infected, 187,000 have been isolated, and 162,000 have been treated so far. What exactly is this fever? Is it the Wuhan virus or a new disease? North Korea won't tell. It never does. although it has admitted that one of the persons who died had tested positive for the Omicron subvariant. What about the rest of them? No answers. The Supreme Leader is taking no chances. He has ordered a national lockdown and declared what's being called the gravest state of emergency. No one knows if this is North Korea's first COVID outbreak. When the virus began breaching its borders, the already isolated North Korea further shut itself from the world. It closed the borders, restricted all travel. For the next 2 years, the world could not confirm what went down. Not until now. Even now, it's hard to confirm the full scale of the outbreak, but the visuals show that a sense of panic is settling in. Look at these visuals now. They're from Friday. They show Kim Jong-un visiting an antivirus command center, briefing government officials on the steps needed to control the fever. Every one of them can be seen wearing a mask. How did things get here? What led to the outbreak? No one knows, but experts say last month's military parade could have been the trigger. On April 25th, North Korea celebrated the founding anniversary of its army. There were thousands of unmasked people, no social distancing. Experts are now holding this event responsible for the outbreak. So, how does North Korea plan to fight this fever? The country has a poor healthcare system, and its 26 million people are unvaccinated. In the last 2 years, Pyongyang shunned millions of life-saving shots. The UN offered COVAX, China offered Sinovac, North Korea refused to take them. What will it do now? Last we checked, Pyongyang still hadn't made any appeals for assistance, but it did test-fire 3 short-range ballistic missiles immediately after it confirmed the outbreak.
We now shift our focus to Nigeria, where a woman has been beaten to death and set on fire on college premises. She was a student in this college. Her killers were her own classmates. What was her crime? Blasphemy. Her classmates accused her of insulting Prophet Muhammad, and so they killed her. This incident has shocked the world, but in Nigeria, killing in the name of blasphemy has been taking place for far too long, especially in the country's north. Our next report highlights the deep religious tension in Africa's most populous country.
Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, is once again in the news for the wrong reasons. A female student was beaten mercilessly and then set on fire by fellow students. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! This video has gone viral with the hashtag Justice for Deborah. The footage shows a group of youngsters attacking her. What was her fault? It is alleged that she had posted blasphemous statements about Prophet Muhammad in a WhatsApp group.
It all started within a WhatsApp group, and things escalated because many of the students assumed or were a bit offended by the comments by Deborah for accusing them or blaming them for spreading their religious beliefs.
The incident took place in Nigeria's northwestern state of Sokoto. The victim has been identified as Deborah Samuel. She was a student of Shehu Shagari College of Education. The students were upset over her comments. The incident has sent shockwaves across the African nation, forcing police to arrest 2 suspects in connection with the murder. And the local administration has assured that all those involved in the crime would be arrested. An online petition has been launched seeking punishment for the killers. Sokoto is among a dozen northern states of Nigeria, where Sharia is in operation. What's disturbing is that this is not the first such incident in Nigeria. Cases of vigilantism and people being jailed for blasphemy keep happening periodically. In most cases, those accused of blasphemy are from the minority community. Last September, a Christian leader was killed by a mob. In January, a Nigerian court threw out 2 blasphemy convictions, freeing a teenager who was facing a 10-year prison sentence. In August 2020, a Nigerian singer was sentenced to death for sharing what was considered a blasphemous song on WhatsApp. And it's not just armed vigilantism that is worrying. Terror groups like Boko Haram frequently attack villages and kill civilians based on their beliefs. In Nigeria, Muslims constitute 53% of the population and Christians 46%. Despite this religious diversity, Nigerians remain vulnerable to sectarian persecution.
And we wrap the show tonight with a story about Twitter, a platform in a state of mess. Its managers are being fired, new hirings have been halted, and the supposed new owner has put his deal on hold. Elon Musk has temporarily shelved the buyout. Why? He cited fake accounts as the reason. He says the deal is on hold over pending details that spam and fake accounts represent 5% of Twitter users. But those who've tracked Elon Musk's journey will not be surprised by this latest twist. Here's more.
Twitter is in a state of turmoil. Two of its senior executives are leaving. WION Bekpour, a general manager who leads research, and Bruce Falk, a Twitter spokesperson. They've put down their papers. The word is they were fired. Bekpour has confirmed this. He says he was ousted from the company, that he was asked to leave by the CEO himself. In a tweet, he said, "The truth is that this isn't how and when I imagined leaving Twitter. And this wasn't my decision. Parag asked me to leave after letting me know that he wants to take the team in a different direction." In a deleted tweet, Bruce Falk made the same assertion. He said he too was fired by Parag Agarwal. Why? No one knows. In a memo sent to employees, the Twitter CEO has said it's critical to have the right leaders at the right time. But the thing is, Twitter isn't really going through the right time. Its revenues are sliding. The user base is falling. The company is failing to achieve growth targets. It has halted all new hirings and backfills. It won't be making any new job offers. It's also going to slash most of its expenses. Adding to the worries is Elon Musk, the supposed new owner of the platform. He has temporarily put his deal on hold, a decision that has unnerved investors. Immediately after Musk's announcement, nearly 22% of Twitter's shares fell in pre-market trading. Why has Musk put the deal on hold? Due to pending details on spam and fake accounts. You see, on several occasions, Musk has said that removing spam bots will be one of his top priorities as the owner. He has accused the platform of not doing enough about it. Earlier this month, Twitter officials hit back. In a regulatory filing, they claimed that false or spam accounts represented fewer than 5% of its monetizable daily active users. Could this explain Musk's decision? In Musk's own words, this data is the exact reason why he's pausing the deal. The thing is, ever since Musk's Twitter buyout, the company has been on the edge internally. Mostly because of his future plans for the platform, like imposing a fee on government users, firing over 1,000 Twitter employees, and cutting reliance on advertising revenue. His plans have made the executives nervous. The restructuring explains their paranoia. As for Elon Musk, who knows what surprise he's planning next.
And now let's take a look at what else is making news across the world. This is Gravitas Global Headlines.
Ukraine claims it has damaged a Russian Navy logistics ship near Snake Island, a small but strategic outpost in the Black Sea. G7 nations say they are strongly united in backing Ukraine until its victory against Russia, while urging for more weapons for Kyiv to keep up the pressure against Moscow. thousands packed Jerusalem's tense old city for the burial of veteran journalist Shireen Abu Akleh after Israeli police stormed the start of the funeral procession. A day after North Korea confirmed its first COVID cases, the country records its first ever COVID-19 death, with the state media saying that the virus was spreading explosively nationwide. China announces a new round of mass COVID testing across most cities, even as officials deny rumors of sweeping Shanghai-style lockdown measures. A day after world stocks sank to an 18-month low, Asian markets recover temporarily, but investors remain worried about persistently high inflation and rising interest rates. A roadside bombing targeting a van carrying Pakistani security forces in the southern port city of Karachi kills 1 and injures 13 people. In the United States, several wildfires ravaged residential areas in California and spread across New Mexico cities, which experts attribute it mostly to dry and drought-like conditions. Alexander Zverev and Stefanos Tsitsipas will face off in the semifinals of the Rome Masters. Reigning Olympic champion Zverev overcame Christian Guerin 7-5, 6-2 in the quarters, while 4th seed Tsitsipas beat Italian Yannick Sinner 7-6, 6-2. The Miami Heat have secured their place in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals after completing a 4-2 series win over the Philadelphia 76ers. Heat All-Star Jimmy Butler scored 32 points in a 99-90 win in Game 6.
With that, it's a wrap. We're leaving you with Gravitas images. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
One World Trade Center